Welcome back to the Integrated Self Podcast, where I teach you how to navigate your healing and expansion in mindset, energy, spirit, health, and life. I'm your host, Arianna Sidway, a board-certified holistic health coach and spiritual guide whose mission is to help you awaken to your inner power so you can free yourself from the past and create your future. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you guys had a great week last week. I actually spent the weekend being present, which is something that I do throughout my days, but I never really have had a weekend recently where I haven't done any work. I never opened my laptop. I kind of stayed off social media, and I was just going with the flow, hanging out with my family and friends, and it was so nice because normally on the weekends I work. I normally record a podcast episode or I, do some work. I'm actually still in school, for those that don't know. I am so freaking close to completing my master's in natural medicine, and after that I will be moving on to my doctorate and PhD degree, but I'm just so excited. I have a couple more classes to wrap up for the master's, and then I will be heading on to the doctorate. But I'm very excited to have the master's done soon because after the master's, I can recertify. And so I will no longer be a holistic health coach. I will be a holistic health practitioner, which is so exciting. But, it's just with so much to do and so much that's ongoing, it's really hard for me to turn my brain off sometimes and just live my life. I started doing weekly trainings on my Instagram page for my business. So if you guys don't follow me on there, I do a training. It's kind of like a mini coaching session that I do every Thursday. I normally make a post with, the basic foundation of what I'm going to be talking about. And then after that, I kind of go on my stories and go in depth and explain and help you and kind of go through the topic that we're talking about that week. So this week, I posted my mini training, which was all about patience and how we can cultivate more patience. Because in the beginning of my journey, actually, one of the first things that I asked myself was, how am I contributing to my own stress? Let's figure out how I'm contributing to my own life, kind of reel that in, evaluate, and see what we can do here before I started going, in the deeper layers of the onion. So that's what's going on over there. We also do weekly affirmations, and I kind of just keep you guys updated on what I'm doing. I share personal stories on there. I share my client wins, all the things. So if you haven't already, go ahead and follow me on Instagram. I also post oracle and tarot card readings on my TikTok account as well, and obviously more content over there. So I will post my social medias in the show notes if you're interested in, learning more and getting some free advice, some free coaching and content. Today's episode might not be as long as the other weeks, but I really wanted to go over some common myths that I either saw in the beginning when I was healing, or things that I kind of questioned or assumed in the beginning, or even just things now that I see other people posting that are in the beginning of their healing journeys. And there's just some common myths that I've been aware of, and I kind of want to give my 2 cents on that since, I've been on this journey for 5 years personally, maybe more than that, but professionally about 2.5 or 3 years. And so I just want to go over some of these myths and prove them wrong. So let's go. The first one isn't actually a myth, but I do want to cover this, okay? Because I've been seeing, and I hear, I think we hear a lot the common phrase that people don't change, right? Obviously, I'm here talking about healing and transforming and evolving in many different dimensions of us being human beings, and people can absolutely change, right? I think we all know that. I think we've all had experiences where we've seen that. However, people don't change if they don't want to, right? So a lot of times we want to change others, or we we might be dating somebody, gone on a few dates with them, and we kind of have some red flags here and there, and we start to envision, if they were perfect, we would be perfect together, right? Like, I think we've all had that experience where we've went on a date, or we've met somebody, or we're talking to somebody, and we're like, yeah, they're great, but there are a couple weird things, or there's some red flags here or there, and I don't like the way he or she said that one thing, but it's fine, and then you keep dating, and what happens is you begin to fall in love with the version of them that you've made up in your mind, right? And we see this all the time in relationships, especially the fact that, with social media nowadays, like, everyone's relationship is online. Everybody's business is online, especially celebrities. And we can see how people have been together for so many years, and they realize that that person would never change, or they aren't changing. And then you realize that, they have shown you who they are from the beginning, and you just saw past that because you assumed they would change for you. In reality, though, people will only change if they genuinely want to, right? So we can tell people to change. We can give people ultimatums. We can tell people, like, you need to change that, or you're whatever. But if they genuinely don't want to, they won't, right? I think we all know that. And so people can absolutely change, but they have to want it so badly for themselves, right? Because they can sit in a therapy session, but if they don't go home and implement everything they learned, then just by showing up at therapy every week, but you're not changing outside of therapy, you're not making progress, then that's telling me that that person doesn't want to change, right? So my point, I guess, is just that people can change if they want to, right? And so I just think that it's very beneficial, and it saves a lot of heartbreak and pain for us if we just trust what people show us, right? Trust their actions. What are you seeing? Trust that. Trust what they're proving to you through their actions. We need to see it in action. We need to see the behavior not present, or we need to see them have a different reaction, right? They need to prove that they've changed. And just by saying, oh, I've changed, it's like, prove it. You can change, but you got to want it, right? And so that's where I kind of started. That's where I really started my journey. We have 3 common myths today, and I want to just go over that, because one of the things that I've been seeing on TikTok, especially in the healing community and the spiritual community, is that people say, heal yourself before you get into a relationship. Now, I get what you're saying. I totally understand this topic, because it's really important to work on yourself, especially if you had broken up with somebody, or you're in between relationships, or maybe you're just not really looking to date. Those points in your life are so essential for you to kind of reevaluate, right? Like, if you just got out of a relationship, instead of just like jumping into another one, or instead of just being like, yeah, we broke up, and then not really evaluating that, I think it'd be really beneficial to do that and understand and ask ourselves certain questions, like, why didn't that relationship work out for me? What are some things that partner did that I don't want the next partner to have, or do? Or what are some qualities that my ex-partner didn't have, or didn't show me, or whatever, contribute to the relationship, and what am I now going to look for, right? So now you can kind of weed out from your experiences, like, here's what I learned I don't like, and here's what I'm looking for, and start to really like cultivate that kind of that self-reflection. And maybe even ask yourself, like, it doesn't have to be about the other person in the relationship, but ask yourself, where could I have given more of myself in that relationship? And where could I have spoken up? Where could I have improved upon certain things? What do I want my next relationship to look like? How is it different from the one I was just in? And so I truly believe that that's a myth. I believe that it's a myth that you have to be fully healed in order to be in a relationship, and here's why. I met my boyfriend, and we've been together 6 years coming this July, when I was in my emotional rock bottom. And I can't help but think that God was showing me in that moment, I'm going to show you, I'm going to place the man that I deem is right for you in your path, because I'm not going to watch you suffer any longer. And I really was in this mentally such a low state, but you would have never known, because I pretended that I was totally fine. I just remember being like, I'm fine. I masked that hurt and that pain and that insecurity and all of those feelings. I masked it with like, I'll be fine. But, and I wasn't even, when I first saw him on Tinder and when we matched, I still didn't think that I was looking for a relationship. I think I was just trying to distract myself, and I just didn't really know what I was doing. And little did I know that this would be the man that I would fall in love with, and that would prove every guy before him wrong and prove me wrong. And so I met him when I was at my emotional rock bottom, and we've been together 6 years, and I started my healing journey after we met each other. So I truly believe that you don't have to be fully healed in a relationship. Now, when it comes to being in a relationship as somebody that may be carrying some baggage or, some trauma, or maybe some just unhealed parts of yourself, the only reason why I feel like people say that you should be fully healed before you get into a relationship is that you might be projecting your pain onto your partner, right? But if you are getting together with somebody, or you're going to start dating or moving in with somebody, and they know your past and they know your hurt, they know where you fall short or where you have trouble, or, what these feelings are like for you, and you allow them, you're vulnerable with them, and you show them like, hey, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been through some shit in my life and I'm working on it, but I just want to be upfront with you. And I also am just wanting you to know that, maybe just hold in your own mind that it's just, you have to be aware, because in the beginning of my relationship, when I was healing, I would still project my hurt onto my boyfriend. And thank God he never left my side. Like, I feel like he genuinely gave me the space to heal, to change and evolve, and not judge me for that, and to figure my shit out. And he's been so freaking patient. But sometimes that's not the case, right? Sometimes you're not with somebody who wants to wait or has the patience to be there for you while you work on your stuff, right? So it does depend on who you're with, but I do believe it's a myth that you have to be fully healed in order to be in a relationship. I also see so many beautiful examples of couples that heal together, that come together, and when they start dating, they both have some stuff that they're carrying into the relationship with, and they both heal together, right? And they kind of help each other. And I think that's freaking awesome, right? So it's not like you have to hide yourself away in this castle forever until you think you're perfect for someone else, right? Because who knows, you could be missing out on your soulmate because you think that you're not good enough for them right now, right? I just think communication is so important, and it's really important if you're healing to communicate that to people around you, especially people who you are dating or you are trying to make big decisions with, right? And just make sure that they're understanding of where you're at, and they can just meet you where you're at, right? And that's exactly what my boyfriend did. That's a common myth number one, is that you need to be fully healed in order to be in a relationship. Nope, not true. Okay. The second one is that your darkness defines you, right? I think a lot of us think that whatever we've been through, yes, it makes us who we are, and the fact that it's impacted us, but your darkness doesn't define you. Your traumas don't define you. I think a lot of us we're used to people saying like, oh, that's just the way I am, can't help it. And it's like, well, you could, if you don't enjoy being like that, right? Or if you're miserable, you could change that, right? And it's probably because of something that you've been through. So it's not that, you're just like that for no reason. I think that a lot of people assume that, oh, I had a rough childhood, so that's what the rest of my life is going to look like. Or I came from a poor family, so I'm going to be in poverty my whole life. No matter what we go through, it does not define you. It doesn't define your worth. It doesn't define how successful you could be. Because I've been through some really hard shit, some things and some traumas that honestly, some I even forgot about until I began my healing journey. Because I'm like, I kind of think that I sugarcoated my childhood because I either maybe felt guilt or shame if I admitted that it really truly was traumatic at some times. Because I always was raised to be humble and I never was like a dramatic person. And so I always knew that I had so much hurt and pain within me and fear and all these things, but I was like, I started understanding, and through my healing journey, I started uncovering a lot of the things that as a child I totally dismissed. Because think about it, of when you're a child, you don't understand like, oh, I'm being manipulated right now, and I'm only a child, and this isn't fair to me, and this is what's going on here. Like, you don't know what's happening. And it's only until later when you choose to heal, if you do, when you look back and you're like, that's why I feel this way sometimes. That's why in this situation I feel that way, because I went through that and that's what it taught me. My mind and my body learned to have this reaction because I've been through X, Y, and Z. I started understanding and uncovering and really doing these really deep healing sessions, I guess, with myself. And it's so crazy because I know that there's going to be some family and some friends that listen to this podcast and they would never know. Like, there are parts of my life, but also my healing journey that I haven't told anybody, not even my boyfriend. Like, I've pulled over on the road before because I needed to like scream cry to God. You know, like there's been some low moments, but I've also never felt so fucking happy in my life. I never thought, like, if you told me when I was 16 or 17 years old that one day soon I would genuinely feel confident in who I am, I would genuinely love myself, and I admire who I am, and you know, like, I finally feel like I've become what my younger self needed, but she never had. So your darkness does not define you. I think what I've done is really gone back in time, extracted what I needed from my past, like the little gems of wisdom, the lessons I've learned, and move forward with those things. I think you know you've healed something when you can look back at that experience and you're no longer emotionally triggered by it. And even to go as far as saying that, you know, you've forgiven those people or yourself, most importantly yourself, from whatever has happened. And so freeing yourself from the past, in quotations, is where you are not emotionally attached to people's situations that are influencing your current behaviors, thoughts, and actions. You're able to create your own life, make your own decisions. You're not dependent on anybody else now because you've detached yourself from that situation in the past. You've forgiven it. You're at peace with it. So that's number 2. Your darkness does not define you or your future. Myth number 3 is something that I talk about a lot, actually, which is that people assume that healed equals no longer experience any bad things or anything negative or anything painful. By healing, like I said before, you just get to know yourself so freaking well. You get to know what works for you, what to do when you're feeling certain things, communicate the way you feel to other people around you, and learn how to alchemize essentially something that we feel into something positive for our benefit, right? We kind of learn to release and how to release, right? Instead of feeling like, I don't know what to do, I feel this way, and I guess I'm just going to feel this way because I don't know what to do, Yeah, I've been there. But now through the healing journey, you get to know why you are the way you are. You get to evaluate, what doesn't make me feel good and why. What things have I been through that have kind of shaped me to have this behavior? Where did I learn this? Who told me X, Y, and Z? And why does that come across my mind all the time? Right? We start to flip the script. We start to say, you know what? I'm sick of believing X, Y, and Z about myself because I genuinely know those things aren't true. They've just been told to me so many times that my brain has soaked up on that and now replays that for me. So basically all day long, I'm just listening to other people's projections and opinions of me. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to reprogram my mind and retrain my brain to actually tell me what's true about me, positive things, how I want to think about myself, right? So healing is actually about learning the darkness. I truly believe that healing is about mastering the darkness, not being afraid of it, because we live in a world of polarity. We live in a world of duality. We live in a world of light and dark. We live in a world of good and evil. And we're all human beings, right? So we're going to experience pain, loss, heartbreak. We're going to experience all of these emotions no matter if you heal yourself or not. The difference between someone who knows how to heal and knows what they need and someone who hasn't or doesn't is just the fact that when we feel these heavier emotions, we know how to help ourselves. We know what's going on within our mind and body. We know how to help ourselves and how to continue on evolving and healing so that we no longer allow ourselves to internalize or take personally other people's projections because they are hurting. I think the biggest change for me is that I used to walk around feeling victim to whatever anyone said to me or whatever happened in my life. Even if it was something out of my control, I took it personally. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I can't believe this is happening to me. And then I realized that nothing happens to you. Everything happens through you and for your highest good. We're all guaranteed the feeling of loss in this lifetime, right? We're all going to feel shame or guilt somewhere. And so instead of feeling it and feeling guilty for feeling these things and then, flipping on ourselves and now we don't like ourselves and now we're beating down on ourselves because we feel these things, now I just validate myself. If I feel guilt or shame, I'm like, I feel guilty right now. And then I just walk myself through the questions. I don't shame myself for feeling guilty. I just say, you know what? You feel guilty right now. That's okay. Why is that? Why do you feel guilty about that? What can we do to release this guilt, right? How can we help ourselves? How can we learn from this feeling of guilt and allow ourselves to release it so that we can move forward? I welcome bad experiences because I'm like, oh, I'll definitely learn something here, And the more lessons I learn, the more wisdom I have. The more I can help others because I'm like, oh yeah, I've been through that before. Here's what I learned, right? Oh yeah, I felt this way. Here's what I did. So it's not that healing just makes your life so happy that you never feel anything ever again. And if that's the case, then I think you're kind of avoiding, you're bypassing something, right? Because I'm a human being just like you. And so now I would say, yeah, my life is kind of way better than it was before because I have way less stress. Because as I said in the beginning of this podcast, I used to actually unconsciously create stress for myself, and that's a whole other episode about survival mode that I will be getting into because I was in survival mode for, I would say, about 7 years. That's like such a huge thing that I healed for myself. Getting out of that masculine energy for once in my life and actually getting into the feminine and just learning to be and be present and flow with life. But now my life feels better than before because I have the confidence, I have the strength, I have the worth, that I never saw before. I actually experience less stress because I know when I'm creating stress for myself or when my reaction is a little stressful, and I try and work on that. I'm way more adaptable and flexible with life, so my control over life and controlling every little thing is not who I am anymore. I'm very much like go with the flow, what everyone wants to do, or like if something didn't work out for me, I'm like, you know what? That's just me being redirected towards what's actually meant for me. So I don't take every single little thing personally anymore because I've finally built up that security within myself. That's myth number 3. By eliminating problems or feelings, I won't feel pain. And that is a myth. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I just wanted to go over some things that maybe you might be thinking if you've never really embarked on a healing journey of some kind or reflected on certain things you've been through, and maybe some things that you feel like you might think a certain way or feel a certain way or act a certain way now that doesn't feel good to you. These are all things that I work with my clients on doing. I actually have some people that reach out to me and they're like, how can you, like, what do you do? I have some clients that have dealt with anxiety, and I have one client that had agoraphobia, and we're working on all those things. I can really help people get out of survival mode because I've lived and breathed that for so many years. I help people with rejection and confidence, like helping you really see yourself without other people's glasses on, right? I help people work on like judgment, communication, like learning how to feel what you're feeling. I've had clients that grown up in environments where, they weren't really taught how to talk about their emotions or what to do when they feel these big, heavy emotions. And so I even just help clients like take little baby steps by helping you understand what you're feeling and why, and being able to identify that feeling, and then moving forward with how can we help ourselves, right? So essentially what I do is mind-body medicine. It's mindset, but also getting the body on board, because the body never lies to you. So a lot of times, you can look them up. There's a bunch of mindset coaches out there, but if they don't do nervous system regulation, it's going to be really hard to accept and believe that new mindset, because your body is connected to your mind. They're very much, a pair. And so it's almost like if you change such a drastic belief system in your mindset, you have to get your body on board, because if you start thinking in that new way, you might realize that the mindset, the self-talk or the new thoughts are there, but your body feels anxiety. You might feel anxious, or your body might feel out of place or not grounded. So what I do is really get the body on board and in coherence with the mind, so that now you're actually relaxed. You've actually integrated fully the new changes that you've made for yourself, that now it's just normal. Now you can think the new thoughts and your body's calm, your body's relaxed, your body's like, hell yeah, this is me, Those are the 3 myths. And I really hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that I was able to prove some of you wrong, or that you learned something new today. And I hope even that I inspired some of you to start embarking on this journey, or kind of just, reflecting in some way. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great one. Thank you for listening to the Integrated Self Podcast. New episodes come out every Friday, and if you're interested in coaching or mentorship with me, you can visit me on TikTok at Universal Health, or my Instagram at Universal Health and Wellness. Universal is spelled YOUNIVERSAL, and my Instagram, the word and is the word and, not the sign. Thank you so much, and I will see you there.